trailer? And she's putting the cats in the trailer. Is that the last we heard?
They went out and couldn't visualize any of them.
Okay.
She said she can't breathe.
Okay.
They couldn't see them.
Okay.
We're live.
I'm not a morning person. I had to get up at 4 a.m. to take my brother to the airport this morning. It's been a long day. Yeah, I told him, I said, grow up and get a plane ticket directly into the hometown like everybody else does as an adult.
Well, there isn't any to our hometown. We gotta drive somewhere.
Well, he doesn't live here. He lives in Dubuque, Iowa. So I had to pick him up there. Because since I go back, and I'm now the closest one to Chicago, I pick him up. So.
Well, I've done that. Even drove to work and worked all that. I just got rid of my family.
You just got rid of him? Are you the host for everything? Kind of the hub?
Well, it's my grandparents in California and their father's in Texas. So they come every other Thanksgiving.
So how many total do you have?
I have 2 grandkids.
Like for the whole everything. Do they have kids yet or anything? Or nothing yet?
My grandson's a senior in high school.
Okay.
My granddaughter's a freshman.
So you have 2 grandkids, then you get so how many, with everybody married, everybody, what do you got total in the whole house for Thanksgiving?
Oh, I know, I don't even do it.
Oh, you don't?
I do Christmas.
Oh.
I had them all staying, I had the 3 and the 85-pound dog staying with me for a week. You know how that is when you're
I haven't had to take care of it. Well, I just have my brother. He's probably worse than the dog, but.
But between my sister and her kids and my kids and everything, there's like 32.
Whew. That's a hefty amount.
I know, that's what I'm looking at this Christmas. Because it's our year. Meaning that her
Oh, you guys rotate?
I don't.
Oh.
I do Christmas every year with whoever's here. So sometimes I have 12, sometimes I have 32. Her kids though, if it's in-laws this year, then it's her family the next year, and all the kids are on the same schedule. So they have basically none of the kids this Christmas, and then the next Christmas they see all the kids, which is nice. Sort of. She always has me fall back on my sister. She doesn't cook. Or bake.
My parents are still doing all the stuff, and they've been doing it for, God, 35 years. So they don't want to give up the reins because they bring everybody else in, all my cousins. They do the extended craziness and stuff, but
That's fun.
yeah, they're getting up there though to where it's becoming more difficult. So, but they love it. So.
See, to me, Halloween's a bigger holiday.
Thanksgiving.
I wear them at Thanksgiving, as long as I don't have to cook it.
Yeah, Thanksgiving is the big one because that gets everybody from around the country. Everybody kind of knows that's the time that they come in and everything like that. So, yeah, it is nice. So,
Christmas is just my favorite. Years of making magic.
we're doing Christmas in Texas this time. Yeah, my sister, we go every other year to Texas. We used to go in the summer, and then the first summer we went, it was amazing. It was amazing. And then the next 2 we went 2 years later, it was miserable.
So hot.
Yeah, we couldn't even stand being outside. And they go, oh, this is how it normally is. The year you came just was great.
Yeah.
So we said, how about we see you at New Year's every year, or every other year? And then we didn't go for COVID last year, so now it's been 3 years. So that's kind of our goal, is to go down there for that every other year.
Where at in Texas?
Houston. Little subdivision called Sugarland. Cute name.
It is.
Yeah. Yeah.
My son lives in Austin, and I love that area. It's so much fun to go out and do stuff.
Well, I do miss having the big. I mean, don't get me wrong, Oglesby's fantastic. It's small and friendly and everything like that, but I do miss
Moving on.
the excitement of the craziness every once in a while.
Yeah.
Call the Oglesby Council meeting to order.
Augubright.
Here.
Cullinan. Curran.
Here.
Yeski.
Here.
Rivera.
Here. Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for
Public comments on agenda items only. Hearing none, we'll move on. Approve 1178-112921, the intergovernmental agreement between IVRD and the City of Oglesby, Illinois, as an original member relative to payment of an amended schedule of IVRD fees.
So at RVRD, we were talking about what the new schedule should be. They base it off of our costs that we've had over the last couple of years, and they also redistributed per capita. So nearly everybody's city went down in population size. So it goes from what we're paying right now per month of $61.59 to a total of $67.12, and that's the new amount per month, basically. Any questions, concerns?
No?
With that, I'll make a motion to approve 1178-112921, the intergovernmental agreement between IVRD and the City of Oglesby, Illinois, as an original member relative to payment of an amended schedule of IVRD fees.
I'll second.
Augubright.
Aye.
Curran.
Aye.
Mieski.
Aye.
Revere.
Aye. Place on file 120621R, a resolution of the City of Oglesby, LaSalle County, Illinois, authorizing the mayor and clerk to execute an agreement by and between the City of Oglesby and GTI Oglesby LLC.
So what this is almost identical to around this time last year. If you recall, last year, we did our big rate schedule with them with the G6 or G6, G7 rate schedule. But before that, they had to get their expansion going. So we did an intermediate agreement to be able to purchase the equipment, and then they gave us a check for all the equipment so we could pay for it. We did that ahead of time. Basically, what's going on here, and I don't know if this has been made public yet, but originally when they told us they were going to expand for the next expansion, it was going to be just distribution. When we had a meeting with them about a month or so ago, they said their next expansion is not going to be just distribution. They're going to do more growing, and the size is going to be approximately the same amount as the last expansion. So in other words, that's why we need to be able to purchase some more equipment, and they're kind of under the gun for that. There is like a 14, 16-week lead time for some of the equipment, so we've been trying to get this done quickly, and because we had this meeting tonight, I thought we'd be able to throw it on here. So what this is basically to enter in an agreement with them that basically they're going to pay for the $236,491 in the equipment that's going to be on site. This has nothing to do with the second feed, the additional transformer possibly that they might want to go in on. There's nothing to do with the lift station. All that stuff is in negotiation. But whether or not that happens, they absolutely do need to have this equipment to expand into the next thing. So that's basically everything in a nutshell. Anybody have any questions on that at all?
Have they turned their permits in yet, or is that next?
So that is something, so I will say
I'm
that,
just saying, we're buying all this equipment. I'm
well,
not expecting it to get turned down, don't get me wrong, but I'm just asking timeline-wise.
you're talking about their permits? There is an email exchange going on right now about that. We're supposed to be having another meeting about a couple things, whether that's the, again, the lift station, the second feed, all that, and one of the topics is the permitting process.
Okay.
I'll just say it like that,
And do
because
they
there has been some communication errors, I think.
target date of when they want to start digging or whatever?
They have not given me
Okay.
a target date, but they said they want to be able to get it moving soon. And the fact
Okay.
that it's already a 14 to 16-week lead time, even if we put the order in tomorrow. And the other problem is, I do got to get this stuff ordered quickly because we originally started getting quotes from this one company, and their quotes are only good for 30 days because everything's stuck in like shipping containers and parts and all this stuff like that. Costs just continue to go up, 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 up. So the current quote's only good for another week or so. So that's why I want to see if I can get this agreement all good and we can get the equipment actually on order.
Okay.
All right?
There is an adjustment provision in there, Jason, which you and I talked about a little bit. So if these costs aren't exact, when the final quotes come in, if they need to be adjusted or something, you know, if you owe them money, you'll pay them, that's very helpful.
Cor-
If they owe you money, they owe the difference.
Okay.
Correct. since you bring that up, we had that in the exact one other, as well, and the total amount, that we owe them back is like $1,864 out of the other one. So it's the same exact thing, that way we get a little bit of wiggle room either way. So, with that being said, I'd like to make a motion to place on file, 12062-1R1, a resolution of the City of Oglesby, LaSalle County, Illinois, authorizing the mayor and clerk to execute an agreement by and between the City of Oglesby and GTI Oglesby LLC.
Second.
Augubright.
Aye.
Gurley.
Aye.
Miyake.
Aye.
Rivera.
Aye.
And Jason, there's also some language in there that would allow GTI to sign it before you approve the mayor and clerk to sign it at next week's meeting, if you can get that accomplished, to try and keep it moving. It indicates that they understand that this has to be placed on file for a week before the city can authorize its signature. So if you're so inclined to get them to sign it, you can feel free to do that.
Absolutely. That's the goal, just waiting on a response, but we had Thanksgiving last week and haven't heard back from them yet, so there you go.
Number 7 on the agenda, place on file 1179-1202, let's mess that up. 1179-120621, an ordinance levying taxes for all corporation purposes for the city of Oglesby, LaSalle County, Illinois, for the fiscal year beginning May 1, 2021, and ending April 30th, 2022.
And maybe you need some explanation from me about this.
Yes.
Guys, maybe. So, it's my understanding Joel always prepared your levies. This is my first year at this game here. He also does it for other municipalities, so I know that's not unusual. You can increase your levy by no more than 5% without having to have a special hearing. The levy has to be filed by the last Tuesday in December. So you have to adopt it either at next week's meeting or your last meeting in December, which is really pushing that date. So realizing that and the holiday and everything approaching on that last date, I thought it might be good for me to rush and get this in final form so that we could put it on tonight's agenda to be put on file, so that we could maybe act on it next week to get this done and get it filed. These are Joel's recommendations, and I can read you a little bit about what he said to me in his email. The total of my recommended amounts is under a 5% increase from the prior year's extension, so it would not require a truth and taxation hearing. If the city would like to levy more than 5% increase, that will be another discussion, but I doubt that they will. Due to an increase in the EAV from the prior year, this is the most important part of his comment, I thought, the total tax rate will go down from the prior year to the residents if my proposal is approved. So although it's going up almost 5% because it's being spread across a larger base, the tax rate to individual citizens will probably go down. He goes on to talk about levies and the police, the pension fund and stuff, and where that money's gonna come from in terms of your budgetary numbers. I don't think we need to really discuss that, but he also talks about, and he's included the 2020 bond issuance in the levy language, but he's removed the 2010 issuances as both have been paid off. Knowledge to me, I didn't know you had 2010 bond ordinances that have been paid off, but of course Joel does. So again, these numbers are Joel's recommendation. If you flip to the very end of his sheets, you will see the line items that he is proposing. It proposes a tax levy of nearly $1 million, a little over $1 million or something. $1,023,500, comprised of corporate 116, IMRF of 165, fire protection of 18.5, police protection of 34, police pension of 400, municipal audit of 23,000, liability insurance of 95,000, workman's comp insurance of 55,000, unemployment of 5, playground and equipment of 25, municipal band of 2, and social security of 85. Many of these funds are capped at a certain percentage of your assessed valuation. So for instance, fire protection. You cannot run a fire department on $18,500, but you cannot levy any more than that because there's a cap. Same thing with police protection and some other things. There are a few wild cards for insurance, social security, pension payments that there are not caps on, and that's where Joel's trying to finger some of this money. Any questions?
I
I
have.
know Jason's been concerned about it, so I included him in some of that discussion.
I am. I do appreciate one thing, you know, the last couple of years, I was a little upset that we waited to the last two absolute meetings, and the word was if we don't approve it, we're not gonna be able to get our taxes for the following year. So I abstained the first year, the second year I didn't. So I appreciate that we're at least getting it at least one meeting early to discuss. A couple things about it though is, I understand with the EAV, because of the net loss, or the net difference of the EAV increasing, that means that taxable things they're gonna see are still less. The problem I have with this is though, we are still raising it, and this is the problem I have with every taxing body. Everybody raises the maximum they can of 4.99%. When I did the math here, it looks like we're raising it 4.9689%, is the increase, $48,450 more. The problem I have with that is once you do that, you never go back. You're always bringing that more money in every time. And I truly believe in the bottom of my heart, that is one of the reasons Illinois is so terrible about property taxes, is because everybody raises to the maximum they can without having a truth and taxation hearing. My argument against that is, in 2020, we had a surplus of $276,100. Good amount, but that's okay. We should have a small surplus every year. This year in 2021, our audit came by at $3,272,234, more than 10 times the surplus of the previous year. So my question is,
So I wish I would've known we were gonna talk about this today.
well, I'm,
Anyway,
yeah, I'm not trying to, I just got this a few hours ago. I didn't know this was on, this new agenda came out, so I know. My concern is, I understand that we don't have to raise it the 4.99%. My question is, if we raise this 4.99%, what would it take for us not to raise it the maximum taxable amount we can without having a hearing? If $3.2 million does not get us there, what will?
But that's gonna go towards, the second feed's gonna be how much alone? And that's water and sewer, so if you wanna rob from your departments that you're spending like crazy at right now, go for it.
No, I understand.
Cause we gotta pay the police pension somehow, like that one's not going away.
Well,
Some of these are not gonna go away. We've got a substation, west of town, that's at maximum capacity. We've got to figure some money for a lift station out there, because that's at maximum capacity. We've got water main problems that when we have a break, we actually have to shut down the schools. We have to pay for some of these improvements. I don't know how you do it. We're keeping it as low as we can. We got, what do you do? You're gonna tell them you're gonna shut off their
No,
lights for
I
4 hours a day?
I completely agree with you on that we need to have the money for the infrastructure. The two counter arguments to that with the police pension and the water rates. First of all, with water rates, we already did tackle that by we did a thing that we didn't want to have to do, but we did increase the water rates. That's gonna cover our infrastructure. The thing you're talking about, Mayor, with the city having to shut down with the water main break, that would be resolved right now if we would have had the results for the grant come through, which we've been waiting on for over a year and a half. The problem is, we have funding for that we could fix right now, but if we do that, and all of a sudden next month they come back and they say, hey, guess what, you got the grant. Oh, you've already started the work, now you lose out on that grant money. And that's why we've been waiting for so long for that. So that's one thing. The police pension, I completely understand. But every year, I look at the last year's ones too, we levy $400,000 for that, for the police pension fund. I understand it's critical and I understand it's important. What I'm saying is, I don't think that's a great excuse to say, let's raise the taxes because there's this critical thing that we have to do. Especially when we have a massive surplus that can come from other things. The surplus is from many
We're talking
different.
about 43,000, right? So when you
48.
double water rates, it was what, an extra 200,000 a month, 150,000 a month?
Excuse me.
So I wouldn't be too worried about the 43 compared to doubling water rates. but
You're correct. So
we're talking
I-
$3, $4 a house, maybe.
I understand. I'm only making the argument for $48,000. The problem is, once you do it, it's permanent every year. That's my argument.
When are we gonna drop water rates?
Agree with you there.
Okay?
You can choose not to levy anything next year if you want to. I doubt that you ever would, because you have costs and the city needs to pay its bills. But, you know, once you increase it this year, doesn't mean you have to levy a dime next year. I don't think you're gonna wanna pull $1 million out of your budget. It's not very good.
I agree, sir, but my only question with that is, when you say we don't have to levy anything, my question is, what would it take for us to not increase the levy anymore? Because on a year that we have 3.2 million surplus, we're still increasing the levy the maximum we
We're gonna
can.
not hire any more police officers. That would fix it.
So you're trying to justify,
We're hiring another one, so that pension's gonna actually go up. So I'm gonna tell, that money's still going to the pension, no matter where it's coming from. You're still gotta fucking find it from somewhere. So we might be adding to these other funds, but really all that's getting wrapped right back to the police pension.
again,
That's
my
how I
own,
would look at it.
But Joel tells me that the police pension's gonna cost you more than $400,000.
All right,
oh yeah. I mean, that's a whole other thing.
it will be.
Yeah.
Yeah, the whole actuary that came in, I mean, that, don't get me wrong, that is a mess, and I'm not saying that we shouldn't be putting money towards it. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is, again, I'm only one vote here, but I disagree with the idea of raising property taxes the maximum allowable amount that we can, just to pay for something that we say is critical, when in fact, the surplus we have is, what is 3.2 million compared to 48,000? I mean, that is decades worth of the 48.
So you
Take-
wanna transfer
take a
from
look
your
at-
funds?
Take a look at what our costs are coming up just to maintain, to keep the lights on.
No, I understand. Well, and when it comes to electric, we did a rate study, right? And remember they said they recommended between 12 and 20% should be our margin, and we were roughly around 15.5%. And we talked about what we can afford to do to reduce that margin even smaller, to stay within the recommended zone they had. And we even did come that we could give at least a little bit to small businesses. We cut small business electric rates by 15%. What I'm saying is, if we think the electric infrastructure is that much in demand that we need to pay for stuff, maybe we shouldn't have cut that rate then. You know what I mean?
That was, what,
I think the, I
a
think
fifth,
the,
5% of their bill, and we cut it by 20%, so they saved, what, 2% on that?
We cut 15% of the base rate.
Yeah,
So-
so that overall, what was that for their total bill?
I'd have to take a look at it.
It's not
It's not
huge.
quite 15% because the power cost adjustment's not in there, and the base connection, well, the base connection was
Or
actually dropped 15%
Killing
too.
small business rate-wise still, and everyone wants to jumpstart downtowns. Well, our rates downtown are insane compared to everywhere else. So that's,
I mean, we did something.
we want to be
took fif-
competitive, right? Like,
Yeah, so we started with a 15% reduction in them. So I'm a big believer of usage taxes, usage fees for people that use stuff. When it comes to property taxes, that's a static fee. Whether somebody is making 30,000, 50,000, 150,000 a year, or they're laid off for the entire year, they still have to pay their property taxes. So I've always been cautious of raising those kind of taxes.
theoretically, if you're making more, you have a nicer house though, right? So
Correct.
they need to pay more in taxes,
Correct.
so. I
That's
don't know
just-
what percentage our residents pay compared to commercial.
My
But
only.
now that TIF one's gone, it's probably gonna, commercial's gonna
Well,
probably.
we
be
had this
paying a pretty
argument
big
last
chunk.
year, Commissioner Albright, and what you told me was, you said, where's the money gonna come from, Jason? Well, I would say the money's gonna come from our 2021 surplus of $3.2 million.
So electric
one-
and water.
1.19 million of that is from the capital infrastructure deal that we negotiated with GTI that went back into the general fund.
And you were just talking about taking out bonds to do the water line on Columbia. So we're gonna cut 40, but then we're gonna take out 3 million in bonds for your pet project too? Like, we're gonna need the money. Like you,
The water,
the second feed.
the water
and
mains are my pet project.
No, the water line in Columbia that you're like, oh, let's take bonds out, which is a terrible
We-
idea. Cause then we'll have
we
more
could.
of that, and then we'll have more bills, and then we'll be like, oh, we're not gonna raise this, but we're
I
gonna
said
charge
we
an
would,
extra
we would have to,
$3.
I said we'd have to discuss that after the grant came out if we got
I,
denied.
I think we have to take realistically a look at what we're faced with. You know, on Walnut Street is not the only, water line that we have an issue. From Garzanelli's to Walnut Street, what have we got, 28 patches in that line?
I think it's 27 cuts, yeah, breaks.
Um, we can't, we can't tell residents that, oh, you're not gonna have any water Monday or Thursday. It's the same way with lights. I know people are complaining about, our electric rates are too high. Our electric rates are competitive. Where we're getting hit on the increases, and they're seeing them, is the toll charges. You know, our toll charges went up 20% last year. Looking at about the same thing this year. I don't like to pay more for anything, but sometimes we've got to be able to have enough money to pay our bills and to do what we need to do to keep this town going.
I agree. My thought process is, you know,
All right, I'm ready to make the motion.
well, I appreciate you giving me the opportunity to at least speak about it. So my only question is, if we're gonna approve this and raise the 4.9% to the maximum we're allowed to, again, like everybody does, what would it take for us not to raise it the maximum amount? That's all I'm asking. I mean, to me, that's a pretty small ask. And whatever the answer is, my question is, how does that compare to 3.2 million in surplus?
Well, I guess we'll have to cross that bridge next year.
Has Bootsy's tax base been pulled out?
Okay.
I'll entertain a motion.
I will make motion to place on file ordinance 1179120621, an ordinance leveling taxes for all corporation purposes for the city of Oglesby, LaSalle County, Illinois, for the fiscal year beginning May 1st, 2021, and ending April 30th, 2022.
I'll second.
Augubright.
Aye.
Curran.
No.
Bianski.
Aye.
Rivera.
Aye. Discuss and come up with a solution to the monthly electric and water meter readings.
So we had a meeting with our vendor, Nighthawk vendor, that gives us all the water meters and integrates with the billing software. I'd be lying to tell you if it was going smoothly so far. There's still a lot of problems with the connection and how the readings are happening, and it's taking a lot of man-hour times on that. We are still looking at all options, and there is a lot of options on the table. I'll just say it like that. We do have a couple meetings with them again this week, and I think there's actually one of the vendors comes down with a special tool to see if they can find out what's going on with how our data is connecting. But I will say there is a lot of options on the table yet.
I think we should give them a cutoff date or something to fix this, because it's been a year and a half, and I get software doesn't like to mesh and all that kind of stuff, but I don't know how hard they've been trying, but I am not getting that feeling that they're really trying at all. So
Well,
I think we should give them 3 more months to pick a date and then be like, all right, if you don't fix it by then, we got problems. And then I was also talking to Patty today about the whole situation, and I'm going to try to have them run one in the next couple weeks before we actually do it again, just to see if it works right. And then they can run another one, just to try to work it out before we actually do meter readings again.
2 points with that. One, I think it's actually been going on longer than a year and a half, because I think this stuff actually started in the previous administration. As far as their customer service, they are working very hard with us. I will say that. I can see a lot of due diligence when we're speaking with them, but I also get the impression they're working so hard with us because they realize how frustrated we are. And I mean, if this was just one issue, I wouldn't be as concerned. But there's multiple issues with the pieces of equipment, how they integrate, the billing software. There's even an issue with how even though they're not the producers of the electric meters that collect the data, they're the vendors that we go through for it, and there's a problem with the electric meters as well, of how their little battery in them doesn't work right. And I'm like, why did you design it that way? But so there's a lot of issues. So I don't know what that time is, but I'm on board with coming up with a time to say this is what it is, and we start looking at other options.
I
Do we have
agree.
any hard numbers on what it would cost?
I have one set. I don't know how accurate it is, but I do have a set from another It's not apples to apples comparison, unfortunately. It's if the company, there's another company out there that I think Peru uses, and that would be if they come in completely and they do all the installations, but I don't think it's necessarily water meters, is that correct? Yeah. So the problem is, what numbers I do have is not an apples to apples comparison. So I think we should give them some time, maybe put a deadline on that. And then if that deadline can't be met, we try to compare apples to apples as much as we can to see what our options are.
And so how many meters have we installed? For
I
Nighthawk?
want to say, is it 50, is that correct? That's
Okay.
about 50, but the ones that are in there that are working, there's some kind of issue with them, so they all have to be replaced. So we are at
So 50's not that bad. All right.
Okay.
Either way. 300.
Yeah.
All right. I'm glad we didn't buy it all at once like they wanted us to. I can tell you that.
I agree. I agree.
Oh, man.
Under old business, I've got a couple issues. One of them, and I guess it's been punted to the council about the reimbursement of the root beer stand. This has been a project. He's done a great job. He's got 2 bids for almost everything except for the carpenter work. And the total to reimburse him would be, I think if my math is right, $19,315.06. And it doesn't include anything for the carpentry work because there wasn't 2 bids.
So this is more of an attorney question. So the ordinance states that we had to approve it first, so can we approve it after? That makes
Mhm.
sense. That would be my
Because
one
why
question.
wasn't it applied for before
Yeah.
the work was done?
Well, we've got a number of places that started the work before they applied for it.
Was there an issue with our application process that they weren't aware of it, or?
I think in Ron's case, he was trying to use local labor. And if anybody has tried to get something done, it's been a nightmare to get somebody to come in and do small projects. I mean, what he did down to his place is magnificent. It sets out, it's something that we need businesses to do. And, he's stuck a lot of money into trying to make his place a better place to stop to attract people.
I agree. The only problem I have with it is, I want to be able to give a business money that's going to help them expand and do great things, though, but I also want to make sure we treat everybody fairly. And if they didn't put in the application, my questions are kind of why.
We've even,
Rules, Jason, in my opinion. That's why you have rules.
Yeah.
You follow the rules and apply for it first. And,
I-
once you open that door, and the
Yes.
next person that doesn't do it, you're gonna tell them.
I agree.
And then how far after the fact can they apply for it then? Right? It is a slippery slope.
Did they attempt to apply? I mean, is there any kind of documentation where they even attempted to apply, and then maybe we,
They filled out the application, paid the fees, paid the permits, and turned everything in at the end of 3 months.
okay,
They applied for everything up front, paid the fees, paid the permit fees, they were given the application packet.
With a written agreement that says they won't do the work until it's approved, and they didn't fill it out and return it.
They did not fill out the application packet? Okay. Just,
And at the end with the bids and
oh, well,
invoices, what you have there. Part of the problem, my understanding was timing, getting contractors to actually come in.
I
and
understand
bid,
that too.
Which is why they couldn't get a second bid. They couldn't get a second contractor to come in and give them an additional bid.
If that was the date.
They met, they kept, all the members came in except for one was unavailable. They met, they reviewed everything. They didn't want to be the ones to say yes or no, so they asked for the council.
They didn't want to be a bad guy, right?
No, the reviewed was good.
Well, they can't really change the rules either, so.
Yeah, well, I mean, then they should be giving a recommendation of no then instead of, or whatever.
We also have gone back and been working with Pat to even shore up the facade agreement that this is what you have to do. Have we been as dotted every I and crossed every T in some of the other money that we have put out? I can't say yes.
I
Well-
would hope we could, though.
Well, I mean, I love the root beer stand. If there's something that we can do to help them out, I mean, great, but I want to, so if there's anything that we did that was wrong on the thing, I'd like to look at that favorably for them. But I mean, if they didn't fill out the application,
Well, they filled
Well,
it out, they
they
just
did.
didn't submit it. I know, that's where I sit. I love the Rip Beer stand, and he did a fantastic job of the renovations, but without submitting the application, the request and that, I don't know. I just think it opens the door for so many other things down the road.
do we approve the new facade agreement and put in something in there that if they apply late, they get a reduction in the amount of funding they get, so that way we could possibly give them something, I have a hard time
See,
giving
now
them.
you're doing that whole
I-
slippery slope
I know,
thing.
I know,
You're
but
going down the rabbit hole.
I know.
That's the next question.
I know.
Is that-
I know.
One of the things that the facade committee did discuss for going forward in 22 was to change the agreement page that they signed, so it's much more detailed, and it says in your packet, I included that in there. And then they also agreed that within, to tell the applicant once they fill out the application, pay the fees, indicate to City Hall that they are applying for the grant, that the members of the facade committee would be contacted and a meeting would be scheduled with them to review the plans within 10 days of the application process. Isn't that 10 to 14 days they said, Don?
Yes.
They would meet, so then they would know if the plans were approved and then they could go forward with getting their bids.
The other thing we have,
That's a good improvement.
One of the things they came up with.
I think it might be nice to put a sheet right on the front of this application that says, just so you know, you're not gonna get any reimbursement unless you apply first, get approval,
Right.
get your estimates in, no more.
It does say that there somewhere though, right?
It does,
Probably
but
varied in all the
it
fine
is,
print.
but if you do the checklist,
Mhm.
application completed and submitted, boom,
You have to point out the important things
Yeah.
up front, I think, so.
bulleted points.
My concern would be, my concern is that we would approve this for them, and then we could easily have 10 other businesses come in and say, well, I did put a new wall in, or a new bathroom in, or something here, and, I'd like to apply.
Process does start over every fiscal year. I mean, this is the last, you only take the applications for a year, and then you decide as a council.
But that's 6 more months.
we had a.
Oh, calendar year.
That's set up for whatever reason, the calendar year.
Of course it is.
Well, it's probably because it's based on when the TIF stuff is, because TIF, I think, is calendar year, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
That's, I think, why. So this would be the last one.
It's your money, guys. You can do what you want, even though they haven't followed the rules, you could extend it if you wanted to. But I'm worried about the slippery slope too.
And I think we've gone there one too many times, on many issues.
I understand the slippery slope concern.
The only thing positive for,
But
they did take,
Let me,
sorry.
let me finish. I understand the slippery slope concern. We've had other people start projects first and then apply. We've had some miscommunications. I tell you what,
I was gonna say, if we've done this in the past, I wasn't aware that we had done this.
why don't we table this, think it over, and make a decision, in a week at a next council meeting?
Okay.
I need a motion and second to table it.
It's
Old
not on the
business?
agenda, so you don't have to.
It's just an old business item. I don't think we could have taken action on it technically
Okay,
today
no
anyways.
action. I got two other items that just, I want to discuss and to take a look at a way that we can, resolve it. And run this property that basically has been abandoned, what the city can and cannot do. An example would be the abandoned lot on Florence Street. I'm looking for a way to get this addressed in a more timely manner. We've also got a property on South Columbia. That's just a nightmare for the homeowner next to it. We need to get something to motivate the homeowner to correct the problems.
If
And
we
what
know
the
the,
city can and cannot do to get these addressed.
if we know the homeowners, I mean, it's right in our ordinance that violations of the ordinances are no less than $100 and no more than $500 per time. And you can
Write a ticket every day.
You can write a ticket every day, so if I'm getting, going on the low side, if I'm getting ticketed $100 a day, after the third day, I'm really gonna be serious about doing something. That's in our, I mean, we already have it in place, it's in our ordinance book.
If we write tickets and let's say it's an abandoned property, they're not doing anything like that, are we allowed to eventually put a lien against the property itself?
You are. Alan actually looked at this today, because Don had indicated to me it might be on the agenda we talked about tonight. You wanna tell us about it, Don?
Well, yes, you can put a lien on the property eventually. And Gary's right, you already do have a section in your code that seems to deal with this, and that's the nuisance section, which is 8.28.010. And it lists, 20 things that are nuisances, including, any condition of the premises which is detrimental to the public good or which causes an unreasonable disturbance to another. So if you have properties that are abandoned but are like eyesores that are detrimental to neighbors, we can go out for nuisance ordinance.
That's bringing rats to the area
That is
and,
actually a specific, what we want, yeah.
So could we, let's say there's a problem with an abandoned property. So we issue a fine every single day for 30 days. So that racks up $3,000 worth of fines. And then at that point, put the lien against the property and then we pay to get it done ourselves because the work, as long as the work's less than $3,000,
yeah.
that's the only way I can think of
As long as
solving it.
Whoever owns it doesn't come and pays 3,000 either. Like the whole cat situation.
I doubt if,
It's been dragged out for 3 more months, so. And the lot, so have we talked, they won't just give us the lot?
What's wrong with the lot?
Yeah.
I guess I don't understand.
There's
it's,
a hole in the ground, so.
that's where the house was up on, plots or whatever. The house is gone, the lot has never been filled in properly. They've got whatever living in the weeds and the tall grass,
So they don't cut the grass? I'm sure you have a grass limit.
yeah, but this is, I don't think even, the lot is so,
Rough that they can't cut it?
yeah, I don't think you,
It
Right.
can't be over a certain
well,
height.
and then it's in an estate. So I don't know if they
That
got
doesn't
any
make
money.
difference either, I think I'd be having your police department write a
Right.
ticket to somebody, and if you need me to figure out who in the estate is responsible to get that too, we can do that.
Because the lots on
I think we
Columbia,
need to
the
make a
tall
list.
grass and,
We'll give them to you, have them identify it and move on it. And the other thing
and
is,
they'll be our police then?
the other
They get
thing
the good jobs.
is the sidewalk issue. Many residents have put in the sidewalk in compliance with the ordinance, some have not, some are looking for direction. Unfortunately, we have a few that basically given us a 2-word response. Where,
I had Colin check this one out for you too, Dan.
good.
Colin, you're on deck.
Sidewalks?
Yes.
So you guys have a section of your code that deals with the sidewalks particularly, and it's a little bit convoluted. So the way that it works in Oglesby is that you have to pass a special ordinance listing the properties where you would want a sidewalk to be put in at. And then the building inspector and Department of Streets, person in charge of the Department of Streets, then has some responsibilities in the next 10 days. They have to go out there and get it staked out. Eventually, you're gonna issue something called a voucher to whoever you guys would have do the work, and you're gonna then put a special tax on the property where the sidewalk would go. It's a little bit help.
You talking about,
If they don't go ahead and
Yeah.
do it at your request.
That sounds expensive.
so that's something completely different than the cement recompensation that we pay people for when they do, so that's something different, okay. I'm not familiar with that one.
That would be forcing them, Jason, to do it if they're not asking you to compensate them for putting in a sidewalk. Seems to me you have
And so,
residents that just don't wanna do it.
Colin, what section was that again?
so can we put the cost for the city to get all this done
so.
into that tax as well? Okay,
You can.
all right, then
But
it's not that
another
bad.
lien on their real
I don't know.
estate,
Yeah.
essentially.
Pretty long here.
Another taxing body
Someone-
almost.
The only other thing is just I talked to Jim Clinner today. He does have a low budget idea to resolve the, flooding water problem over there at, Heritage Estates in Oakwood. Let's go move to public comments.
Oh,
Greg?
I had something under old business.
I'm sorry.
Yes. We said, last time that at our next working meeting, that we would have reviewed the first portion of the ordinance book with, suggestions for, correction and/or whatever, just to bring it up to speed. Has everybody got a list of those things?
We need to start putting all this on the agenda, just saying. But
It was on the last two.
So are you saying that, no, nobody has anything? Okay.
That's not
I'm gonna
correct.
go with
I-
your,
I did.
you probably
I
have it
do.
under control, Carrie, I'm not worried, I'm gonna tell you the truth, because we're probably deleting ones that were made
Right, but-
1940s and before,
Well,
so.
they are. There are some things in there that are totally outdated, we don't even have anymore, but there are some interesting things in there that I've been finding that we could actually still use very well.
So when you brought this up about, one of the meetings about 7 months ago, I did take a look at that, and the big section I think you're talking about is, I think it's Article 2 that has a lot of this stuff, because we have a union now and it doesn't even apply. Before I even got to that, there is a large section that talks about, like hiring and firing practices. And I know
Yes.
that's been a concern that we've had in the past. So I did give some suggestions, and I think I inundate our city attorney because I give him an incredible amount of stuff. So I'm not trying to throw any of us, but we're waiting on, hopefully there's some stuff ready to come soon.
And I wrote an HR policy that I gave to Tom about that, so.
I know,
This up.
I know,
You guys agreeing on it, so.
I know.
I know you can't.
I think that, Carrie, you have a good idea to push this issue and clean up that code, but I think you need to have a meeting just for that purpose. And
To go through them.
Yeah, and just say, okay, chapters 1 through 3, we're gonna meet on this date, be ready, and we'll go through them paragraph by paragraph.
All right,
That's the way I think you're gonna attack it, because you guys have to come to some agreement, and we can go through them, each line item.
I thought we wanted to do it,
What's going on,
I thought we didn't want to do it piece at a time or something like that, because Article 2
Yes.
itself is
there's, I mean. I just-
100 pages.
I was gonna say, I just got up to page 53 and gave
Yeah,
up.
Article 2 is massive.
Yeah.
That's why I just tackled the one that had like 2 paragraph subheadings first, and then,
And your title maybe of what your duties are as a commissioner?
my concern was, because the mayor had a concern about hiring practices, and I had a concern about firing practices. You know, what would, well, it's pretty vague. Like, for example, I'll throw myself under the bus. I had to terminate an employee. What if I would have had to terminate, what if I terminated that employee and I did it wrong? I have ultimate control and authority that I can terminate whoever the heck I want, basically.
Well,
If it's not an appointed person, I can
Yeah.
just terminate at will. So if I would have terminated that person and I didn't have justifiable reasons, I could have put the city in a liable position.
Correct. And what I'd read so far had been about an appointed person, and that with the appointed person, it gets the approval of the council.
Correct, but even the other people
That
that
I
are
read.
union members, I mean,
Good.
that's,
Yeah, we've got a certain procedures and,
Doesn't the union contract spell all that out?
you bet it does.
Yeah, so, this is more for like pool staff, park kids is what I'm getting out of it.
Well, still, we need to,
everyone
we
else
need
is
to make
covered.
sure, even if it's a non-representative employee, that we do it right. Because there's no such thing as you can just terminate an at-will employee. Gary gives me an eye,
Well,
but,
theoretically you can, but,
Yeah, I
yeah,
was
you
gonna say-
theoretically can, but.
That's why it's called at will.
but that's what I'm saying.
then we'll be making money for the attorney.
No.
Maybe you wanna agree that that should be a council decision, determining an employee.
I think
But
that's.
I think the people that we're talking about covered wise is the part-time summer help, and that's really it, because everyone else is union covered or appointed, right?
But not,
Not
No,
necessarily.
not really.
Who is it?
Electricians and, oh, well,
Well, they're
What is it?
union covered, but our ordinance gives me ultimate, if I wanted to fire one of God, we need our linemen so bad, it's ridiculous, but if I wanted to fire a lineman tomorrow, it'd be, and you all were upset at me about it, I don't think you could stop me. We had this incident come up
But
with the chief of police,
contract would not let you do that.
but what I'm saying is,
Well, somebody could take that position and we'd end up in arbitration and we'd end up losing.
and this is what I'm saying, if I was adamant about it, let's say all of you are against me, the way our ordinance states, I say that guy's terminated, he's terminated, that's it. And if we're liable against it, the city's gonna have to pay a cost because of that, because he had wrongful termination. But according to our ordinance,
excuse me though, if you have a reason to terminate, I think that you're holding yourself more liable to not terminate.
I understand.
For whatever those reasons
And that's why
are.
my recommendation for this was, if there's a commissioner that wants to terminate somebody, I wanted to put something in there that they can suspend, and then it goes to an HR review process. So that way, there's a second process in there, and that you don't have to bring it up to the council. Let's say there's somebody that's doing something that's wrong, and we don't want to make that a council vote. It does not need to be, as long as there's a process that we put in place. That's what I'm trying to say.
Well, I suggest we have a meeting just to start going through this baby, and when we get to those items that talk about.
We have to let go of a pool kid, and we gotta go through, 3 weeks of hearings and stuff for it. No. That's my,
If we want to have a meeting about it, that's fine. I don't want to have any kind of hearing. My thought process, if a commissioner has sole control, it's a non-appointed person, and a commissioner has authority over that, and they feel they need to terminate, they suspend without pay, and it goes via a review
I
process.
think you gotta be careful even with that.
but don't we have heads of departments that are doing that right now, Tom?
We have.
Never mind, we'll talk about that
Okay.
downstairs. I
Well,
think it's covered in that.
let's move on. Public comments. Greg, you wanted to say something before, I didn't mean to cut you off, but this is a time that you can say it. Pardon?
Wondering whether the Lone Star Bootsy property is sucked off of our property tax rolls, that there's gonna be a deficit from that. When you were talking about going for the maximum, levy, you went beyond it, so it's all right.
No, when the state bought that property and it became a state property, I believe, they're not on the tax rolls then. State owns it.
But most of that property was out of Oglesby's city limits, and it was all below the dump would probably be the only piece that the state might have got that was in our city limits. So all the buildings and stuff are still owned by Bootsy, they're still paying taxes and all that, it's just a little chunk to the east.
The plant infrastructure's gone though now.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, they're still paying taxes on it. I don't know if they've challenged it yet or not, but they eventually will.
We've been trying to get Bootsy to, And Jill has been working with us to donate to the city that land behind the Dickinson House. We don't own all the way to the road, and they're not opposed to it. They're just kind of slow in getting it done. Commissioner reports.
I have nothing to report tonight.
Terry?
Nothing.
The only thing I have is, we extended our leaf vac, another week past, Thanksgiving. Please take advantage of getting all your leaves together and stuff, so we don't have to continue everything. As soon as they're done with all that, they can get everything spun up and ready for, unfortunately, laying salt. And Christmas lights, everything is up except 2. Hopefully tomorrow we'll get everything else up. That's all I got.
I guess it's up to you. I got a couple things here. Oglesby Christmas events. Oglesby will have 2 Christmas lighting contests, one a commercial business, the other residential. Resident or winners in each category will receive a $200 off their utility bill. Winners will be announced December 27th. If you would like to be entered into the contest or placed on our map, please call or email City Hall, 815-883-3389 or Oglesby Clerk at yahoo.com. Maps will be available at City Hall. For more information and updates, please follow the city's Facebook page. Oglesby's annual Christmas event will be held from 5 to 8 on Saturday, December 18th. Enjoy the festivities from the warmth of your car. Various locations throughout the city will be handing out treats or Christmas theme items. Current locations are Seneca Square, City Hall, Union Church, the police station, the library, the Dickinson House, and the ambulance and fire station. Santa will be at Seneca Square to be sure to drive by. If you want to be placed on the map for the lighting contest or for handing out treats, contact City Hall by phone or email. Please note that this event is a drive-by due to COVID. Safety of our residents is our number one priority. When you receive your utility bills, in it will be a police survey. Please take the time to respond. This is an effort to make our city safer. And with that, that concludes my report. And I'll entertain a motion to go into closed session. It's 5 ILCS 120/2 parentheses 2. Collective negotiating matters between the public body and its employees or their representatives or deliberation concerning salary scheduled for one or more classes of employees.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Augubright,
Aye.
Burns,
Aye.
Yasi,
Aye.
Rivera.
Aye.
put star on top.
At your house?
Did you send Kim up there to put the star on or what?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
I turned my flagpole into it.
Electrical truck.
That's all I
I
need.
need a motion and second to go back into regular session.
I'll make a motion to go back into open session.
Second.
Augubright,
Aye.
Kern,
Aye.
Yasi, Rivera.
Aye. I need a motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Se-
Augubright,
Aye.
Kern,
Aye.
Yasi, Rivera.
Aye.
I said, you can blame